We live in a world where everyone has an opinion about how you should live your life. People judge your choices, question your decisions, and expect you to explain yourself. Many spend so much time trying to prove their worth that they forget to actually improve themselves. They chase approval, defend every misunderstanding, and lose their peace in endless arguments. But Islam teaches us a different path. Not every criticism deserves a response. Not every opinion deserves your attention. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is remain silent, focus on your own growth, and trust Allah with what people say about you. Silence is not weakness, it is wisdom. And when your attention shifts from pleasing people to pleasing Allah, your heart becomes lighter, your mind becomes calmer, and your life begins to change. Today we will discover the power of focusing on yourself, staying silent, and letting Allah handle what is beyond your control. 1. Stop seeking people's approval. Many people spend years chasing something that can never fully satisfy them, the approval of other people. They change their personality to fit in, hide parts of themselves to avoid criticism, and constantly wonder what others think about them. They celebrate when they are praised and become discouraged when they are ignored or criticized. Yet human approval is unstable because human opinions constantly change. Someone who admires you today may misunderstand you tomorrow. Someone who supports you in one season may disagree with you in another. If your peace depends on people's opinions, your heart will never remain steady. Islam teaches us that our greatest goal is not to impress creation, but to please the Creator. The moment your heart begins seeking Allah's pleasure above everything else, you experience a freedom that no human praise can ever provide. One reason people seek approval is because they connect it with their self-worth. They believe they are valuable only when others recognize their achievements, appreciate their efforts, or speak well of them. But your value was never created by people, and it cannot be taken away by people. Allah created you with honor and dignity long before anyone formed an opinion about you. When you remember this truth, your confidence begins to rest on a stronger foundation. Instead of asking whether everyone accepts you, you begin asking whether your actions are sincere before Allah. This shift changes your priorities. Your energy is no longer spent trying to satisfy every expectation around you. Instead, it is directed toward becoming the person Allah wants you to become. Seeking constant approval also creates emotional exhaustion. Imagine trying to keep every person happy. One person wants you to be more outspoken, another wants you to be quieter. One criticizes your choices, another questions your priorities. No matter what you do, someone will always have an opinion. If you try to satisfy everyone, you will lose yourself in the process. Islam reminds us that pleasing every human being is impossible. What is possible is striving to please Allah through sincerity, good character, and obedience. When you accept that not everyone will understand you, your heart becomes lighter. You stop carrying expectations that were never yours to fulfill. Many believers quietly suffer because they fear criticism. They avoid doing good because they worry about what others might say. They hesitate to wear modest clothing, speak about their faith, or make positive changes because they fear being judged. But remember that every prophet faced criticism despite being the best of humanity. If the most righteous people were misunderstood, then we should not expect universal acceptance either. This realization gives courage. You understand that criticism is not always evidence that you are on the wrong path. Sometimes it is simply part of remaining committed to what is right. There is also a hidden danger in seeking approval. It can slowly change your intentions. A good deed that was meant for Allah alone may gradually become something performed for recognition. A kind action may become motivated by praise rather than sincerity. Islam teaches us to constantly purify our intentions because Allah looks at the heart before He looks at appearances. Ask yourself often, would I still do this if nobody noticed? That question protects sincerity. It reminds you that the greatest reward is not applause from people, but acceptance from Allah. When your heart becomes attached to Allah, instead of public opinion, your decisions become clearer. You no longer make choices based solely on popularity or social pressure. Instead, you ask whether your actions bring you closer to Allah. This creates confidence because your principles remain steady even when circumstances change. You become less distracted by trends and more focused on values that never change. This kind of confidence is calm and quiet because it comes from faith rather than from comparison. Another beautiful benefit of letting go of people's approval is that relationships become healthier. You begin loving others sincerely instead of constantly trying to impress them. You become more honest because you are no longer pretending to be someone you are not. You appreciate compliments without depending on them, and you accept criticism without allowing it to destroy your confidence. This emotional balance creates deeper and more meaningful relationships because they are built on authenticity instead of performance. As you continue this journey, you begin discovering a new kind of freedom. You stop explaining every decision to people who have no responsibility for your life. You stop defending yourself against every misunderstanding. You no longer feel pressured to prove your worth through constant achievement or attention. Instead, you quietly continue doing good because you know Allah sees every effort, even when nobody else notices. That awareness becomes enough for your heart. Remember that on the Day of Judgment, you will stand before Allah alone. The opinions that once seemed so important will no longer matter. The praise you received and the criticism you feared will have no power over your final outcome. What will matter is your sincerity, your faith, and your obedience to Allah. Keeping this reality in mind helps you place worldly opinions into their proper perspective. You become less concerned with temporary approval and more concerned with eternal success. In the end, stop seeking people's approval because it is a destination that can never truly satisfy the heart. Seek the pleasure of Allah instead. Continue improving your character, fulfilling your responsibilities, and serving others with sincerity. Accept that some people will understand you while others will not. Some will support you while others may criticize you. Let them have their opinions. Your responsibility is not to control what people think. Your responsibility is to remain sincere before Allah. When His approval becomes your greatest goal, your heart finds a peace that no human opinion can ever give or take away. 2. Silence protects your peace. One of the greatest forms of wisdom is knowing when not to speak. We often believe that every misunderstanding requires an explanation, every criticism deserves a response, and every accusation must be defended. Yet many of the arguments that consume our time produce nothing except frustration and emotional exhaustion. A woman of value understands that silence is not weakness. A calm woman realizes that not every battle is worth fighting because not every battle leads to goodness. Islam teaches us to guard our words just as carefully as we guard our actions. Sometimes the strongest response is no response at all. Instead of allowing every opinion to disturb her heart, she chooses peace over proving a point. This decision protects her emotional well-being because she no longer allows unnecessary conflict to control her thoughts. Through wise silence, she preserves her dignity and keeps her heart focused on what truly matters. Many people feel an overwhelming need to explain themselves constantly. They want everyone to understand their intentions, approve of their choices, and agree with their decisions. A woman of value eventually realizes that this is impossible. A calm woman understands that no matter how carefully she explains herself, some people will still misunderstand her. Others may choose not to listen at all. This realization frees her from the exhausting habit of trying to convince everyone. She accepts that Allah already knows the truth of her heart, and His knowledge is sufficient. Instead of wasting energy on endless explanations, she quietly continues doing what is right and leaves people's opinions to Allah. Silence becomes especially valuable during moments of anger. Words spoken in frustration often create wounds that take years to heal. A woman of value understands that emotional reactions rarely produce wise decisions. A calm woman learns to pause before responding. She allows herself time to think, pray, and regain perspective before speaking. This pause protects not only her relationships, but also her own peace of mind. She understands that once words leave the tongue, they cannot be taken back. By choosing silence during moments of intense emotion, she prevents unnecessary regret and demonstrates true inner strength. Another beautiful benefit of silence is that it protects us from becoming trapped in unnecessary drama. Many arguments begin with small misunderstandings that grow because people refuse to let them go. A woman of value recognizes that not every disagreement deserves her attention. A calm woman asks herself whether responding will actually bring benefit or simply prolong conflict. If her words will not improve the situation, she often chooses silence instead. This wisdom saves her countless hours of emotional exhaustion because she no longer becomes involved in every dispute that crosses her path. Islam places great importance on speaking words that are beneficial. A woman of value reflects on this principle regularly. A calm woman understands that silence is often more valuable than speech when words do not bring goodness. She learns to speak with purpose rather than reacting impulsively. Her conversations become more thoughtful because she values quality over quantity. People begin trusting her words because they know she does not speak carelessly. This habit strengthens both her character and her relationships. Silence also creates space for reflection. In a world filled with constant noise, quiet moments allow the heart to reconnect with Allah. A woman of value appreciates these moments of stillness. A calm woman understands that she does not need to fill every silence with conversation. Instead, she uses quiet moments to remember Allah, reflect on her actions, and seek guidance. These moments nourish her soul in ways that endless talking never could. Through silence, her heart becomes calmer and more aware of Allah's presence. Many women carry emotional pain because they continue replaying arguments long after they have ended. A woman of value notices how much energy this habit consumes. A calm woman realizes that refusing to participate in unnecessary conflict often prevents these mental burdens from developing in the first place. By walking away from arguments that have no meaningful purpose, she protects her thoughts from becoming occupied by resentment and frustration. Silence allows her to move forward instead of remaining trapped in endless cycles of emotional conflict. Choosing silence also demonstrates trust in Allah. Sometimes people speak falsely, spread misunderstandings, or judge unfairly. A woman of value understands that she does not have to defend herself against every opinion. A calm woman remembers that Allah knows the truth completely. She trusts that justice ultimately belongs to Him. This trust allows her to remain composed even when others misjudge her. Instead of becoming consumed by the need to correct every misunderstanding, she continues living with sincerity and leaves the outcome to Allah. As a woman practices wise silence, she begins experiencing greater emotional freedom. A woman of value notices that she worries less about proving herself and spends more time improving herself. A calm woman realizes that silence creates room for growth because her attention shifts away from external conflict and toward internal development. She becomes more patient, more thoughtful, and more spiritually focused. Her peace increases because she no longer allows every opinion or disagreement to enter her heart. In the end, silence protects your peace because it protects your heart from unnecessary burdens. A woman of value understands that strength is not measured by winning every argument or having the final word. A calm woman knows that true strength often lies in self-control, wisdom, and trust in Allah. She speaks when her words bring benefit, remains silent when silence is better, and refuses to let unnecessary conflict steal her tranquility. Through this choice, she discovers that peace grows when the tongue is guided by wisdom and the heart is anchored in Allah. 3. Focus on improving yourself every day. One of the greatest distractions in life is becoming overly focused on other people. We compare their achievements with ours, judge their decisions, and spend precious time wondering what they are doing instead of paying attention to our own hearts. This habit quietly steals both peace and progress. A woman of value understands that her greatest responsibility is not to manage someone else's life, but to improve her own relationship with Allah. A calm woman wakes up each day asking a simple question: how can I become a better servant of Allah than I was yesterday? She realizes that real growth begins when her attention turns inward rather than outward. Instead of competing with people, she competes with her previous self. Every day becomes an opportunity to strengthen her faith, improve her character, and move one step closer to Allah. Through this daily commitment, her life begins changing in quiet but meaningful ways. Many people waste years comparing themselves to others. They look at someone's success, appearance, wealth, or family and begin feeling inadequate. A woman of value understands that comparison is one of the quickest ways to lose contentment. A calm woman remembers that Allah has written a unique journey for every person. She does not know the private struggles hidden behind another person's public life. She realizes that comparing her chapter 2 to someone else's chapter 20 is neither fair nor wise. Instead of measuring herself against people, she measures herself against the opportunities Allah has placed before her. This shift frees her heart from unnecessary jealousy and allows her to appreciate the blessings already present in her own life. Self-improvement begins with honesty. A woman of value is willing to examine herself sincerely without becoming discouraged. A calm woman regularly asks herself where she needs to grow. Is her prayer becoming more focused? Is her patience improving? Is she becoming kinder, more grateful, and more sincere? These questions are not meant to create guilt. They are meant to inspire progress. She understands that meaningful change begins when she is willing to acknowledge both her strengths and her weaknesses. Instead of pretending she has already arrived, she remains committed to continuous growth throughout her life. One beautiful lesson Islam teaches is that Allah loves consistency. A woman of value understands that becoming better does not require dramatic changes overnight. A calm woman focuses on small improvements that she can maintain. She spends a little more time with the Quran, makes a little more dhikr, controls her tongue more carefully, and becomes more mindful of her intentions. These daily efforts may appear small, but over months and years they transform her character. She realizes that great change often begins with simple acts performed consistently for the sake of Allah. Improving yourself also means protecting your heart from unnecessary distractions. A woman of value recognizes that every hour spent criticizing others is an hour not invested in her own growth. A calm woman chooses to spend less time discussing people's faults and more time correcting her own. She understands that focusing on others often creates pride, while focusing on herself creates humility. This mindset helps her remain grounded because she knows that every believer has areas that need improvement. Rather than becoming occupied with the shortcomings of others, she dedicates herself to becoming the person Allah wants her to be. Personal growth also requires patience. Many women become discouraged because they expect immediate results. A woman of value understands that spiritual growth resembles planting a seed. The change is often invisible before it becomes visible. A calm woman trusts the process. She knows that every sincere prayer, every act of repentance, and every small effort is gradually shaping her heart. Even when she cannot immediately see the results, she believes that Allah sees every step she takes toward Him. This belief gives her the motivation to continue growing without becoming discouraged by slow progress. Another important part of self-improvement is surrounding yourself with beneficial influences. A woman of value understands that the people she spends time with and the content she consumes affect her heart. A calm woman intentionally chooses environments that encourage faith, wisdom, and good character. She seeks knowledge that increases her understanding of Islam and friendships that remind her of Allah. She realizes that personal growth becomes easier when her surroundings support the person she is trying to become. This intentionality protects her from influences that distract her from her higher purpose. As she focuses on improving herself, she becomes less concerned with receiving recognition. A woman of value understands that not every act of growth will be noticed by people. A calm woman becomes comfortable with quiet progress. She knows that Allah sees every sincere effort, even when nobody else does. This frees her from seeking constant praise because her motivation is no longer based on public recognition. Instead, she finds joy in knowing that every small improvement is bringing her closer to Allah. This quiet confidence creates lasting peace because her growth is rooted in sincerity rather than applause. Over time, this daily commitment transforms every area of life. A woman of value becomes more patient during hardship, more grateful during ease, and more compassionate toward others. A calm woman notices that the habits she practices every day gradually shape her character. She becomes someone who responds with wisdom instead of anger, trust instead of anxiety, and gratitude instead of complaint. These changes do not happen by accident. They are the result of choosing every day to become slightly better than the day before. This steady progress gives her confidence because she can see Allah's guidance working within her life. In the end, focus on improving yourself every day because that is one of the greatest investments you can make. A woman of value understands that life is too short to spend comparing, criticizing, or competing with others. A calm woman chooses a different path. She invests her energy in strengthening her relationship with Allah, refining her character, and becoming a source of goodness wherever she goes. She knows that every day is a new opportunity to grow in faith, wisdom, and sincerity. Rather than asking whether she is better than someone else, she asks whether she is becoming better than she was yesterday. Through this mindset, she discovers that lasting peace and true success begin with the quiet work of improving herself for the sake of Allah. 4. Let your actions speak louder than your words. One of the greatest signs of wisdom is understanding that actions often communicate far more powerfully than words ever can. Many people spend enormous amounts of time explaining themselves, defending their intentions, and trying to convince others that they are good. Yet genuine character rarely needs lengthy explanations. A woman of value understands that people may doubt her words, but they cannot ignore consistent actions over time. A calm woman chooses to invest more energy in becoming a better person than in proving that she already is one. She knows that sincerity is demonstrated through daily behavior, not through repeated self-promotion. Islam teaches us that Allah sees what is hidden inside every heart, and He also sees the actions that reflect those intentions. Instead of constantly seeking opportunities to speak about her goodness, she quietly allows her conduct to become the evidence of her faith, her integrity, and her relationship with Allah. Many misunderstandings happen because people judge quickly. They may assume they know your intentions without truly understanding your heart. A woman of value accepts that she cannot control every opinion people form about her. A calm woman realizes that spending endless hours correcting every misunderstanding will only drain her peace. Instead, she chooses consistency. She continues treating people with kindness, honesty, patience, and respect, even when some fail to recognize her intentions. Over time, good character becomes more convincing than countless explanations. She trusts that Allah knows the truth completely, and that is enough for her heart. There is a quiet confidence that comes from sincere actions. A woman of value does not feel pressured to announce every good deed or constantly remind people of her sacrifices. A calm woman understands that true sincerity often grows in silence. She helps others without expecting recognition. She fulfills her responsibilities without demanding praise. She continues doing what is right, even when nobody notices. This quiet consistency strengthens her relationship with Allah, because her motivation is no longer dependent on human appreciation. She serves because Allah is watching, not because people are applauding. Islam places tremendous emphasis on good character. A woman of value understands that her manners, patience, honesty, and compassion often leave a greater impact than her words alone. A calm woman recognizes that people remember how they were treated long after they forget conversations. Every act of kindness, every moment of patience, and every sincere effort becomes part of her testimony before Allah. She realizes that character is something people witness every day. It is built through repeated actions rather than impressive speeches. Because of this, she invests herself in becoming someone whose behavior reflects her faith. Another beautiful lesson is that actions create trust. Words may inspire people temporarily, but consistent behavior builds lasting credibility. A woman of value understands that trust is earned over time. A calm woman does not expect others to believe every promise simply because she speaks confidently. Instead, she allows her reliability, honesty, and consistency to speak on her behalf. She arrives when she says she will, fulfills responsibilities with excellence, and remains truthful even when honesty is difficult. Through these repeated actions, she earns respect naturally, without needing to demand it. Sometimes people will criticize you no matter what you say. They may misinterpret your intentions or refuse to listen to your explanations. A woman of value realizes that there are moments when silence combined with righteous action is the strongest response. A calm woman refuses to become trapped in endless arguments, trying to convince people who have already decided not to understand her. Instead, she continues living according to Islamic values. She believes that time and consistent character often answer accusations better than emotional debates ever could. This choice protects both her dignity and her peace. Letting actions speak louder than words also protects a person from pride. It is easy to talk about future plans, personal achievements, or acts of goodness. A woman of value understands that true humility focuses more on doing than on announcing. A calm woman remembers that Allah values sincerity over appearances. She becomes careful not to seek admiration through excessive speech. Instead, she quietly asks Allah to accept her efforts. This humility protects her heart, because her goal becomes Allah's pleasure rather than public recognition. Another benefit of living through actions is that it keeps the focus on personal growth. A woman of value spends less time talking about the person she hopes to become and more time becoming that person. A calm woman understands that real transformation happens through daily habits. Every sincere prayer, every controlled response, every act of forgiveness, and every moment of gratitude shapes her character. These actions gradually become part of who she is. She no longer needs to convince people that she is changing, because her life itself begins reflecting that change. As time passes, a woman who consistently lives according to her values develops a peaceful confidence. A woman of value no longer feels anxious about constantly proving herself. A calm woman understands that Allah sees every hidden effort, every unseen sacrifice, and every sincere intention. That knowledge becomes enough for her. She continues doing good even if recognition never comes, because she knows that the greatest reward is not found in human praise, but in Allah's acceptance. This understanding gives her remarkable emotional stability, because her motivation is rooted in faith rather than attention. In the end, let your actions speak louder than your words. A woman of value understands that genuine character cannot be manufactured through speeches or explanations. It is built quietly through consistent obedience to Allah, sincere worship, honest dealings, and compassionate treatment of others. A calm woman chooses to spend less time proving herself and more time improving herself. She trusts that if her intentions remain sincere and her actions remain righteous, Allah will take care of the rest. Even if some people never understand her, Allah knows her completely, and that knowledge gives her the confidence to continue walking the path of goodness with humility, patience, and peace. 5. Trust Allah to defend your honor. One of the most painful experiences in life is being misunderstood. People may question your intentions, spread false assumptions, or judge you without knowing your heart. Our natural reaction is often to defend ourselves immediately. We want to explain every detail, correct every rumor, and prove that we are innocent. But Islam teaches us a deeper form of strength. A woman of value understands that Allah knows the truth completely, even when people do not. A calm woman remembers that her reputation is ultimately in the hands of the one who sees everything. She does not become careless about her character, but she also refuses to spend her entire life chasing the approval of people. Instead, she focuses on living with sincerity and integrity, trusting that Allah is the best defender of those who remain truthful. This trust protects her heart from becoming consumed by endless worry over what others may think or say. Many people waste enormous amounts of emotional energy trying to control public opinion. They replay conversations, prepare endless explanations, and become anxious whenever someone misunderstands them. A woman of value realizes that this pursuit never truly ends because human opinions constantly change. A calm woman understands that she cannot control every thought that enters another person's mind. She accepts this limitation with humility. Rather than becoming exhausted trying to manage everyone's perception, she chooses to manage her own character. She asks herself whether Allah is pleased with her actions, instead of asking whether every person approves of her decisions. This shift brings remarkable peace because she no longer carries a burden that was never hers to carry. Trusting Allah to defend your honor does not mean ignoring injustice or remaining silent in every situation. Islam allows us to clarify the truth when wisdom requires it. A woman of value understands the difference between speaking with wisdom and becoming trapped in endless self-defense. A calm woman responds when there is genuine benefit, but she refuses to spend her life arguing with those who have already decided not to understand her. She knows that some people are not looking for truth. They are simply looking for conflict. By recognizing this difference, she protects her dignity and avoids unnecessary emotional exhaustion. The stories of the prophets remind us that even the most righteous people were falsely accused and misunderstood. They faced criticism despite their honesty, patience, and complete sincerity before Allah. A woman of value reflects on these examples often. A calm woman understands that being misunderstood is not proof that she has failed. Sometimes it is simply part of living faithfully in an imperfect world. Remembering this prevents her from becoming discouraged whenever people speak unfairly about her. She realizes that if Allah's chosen messengers faced criticism, then she should not expect a life free from misunderstanding. Another beautiful lesson is that time often reveals what arguments cannot. A woman of value knows that consistent character has a quiet power. A calm woman continues living with honesty, kindness, and patience, even when others question her intentions. She understands that good character demonstrated over months and years becomes more convincing than emotional speeches. While words may be doubted, a life lived with integrity gradually becomes its own testimony. She trusts that Allah can reveal the truth in ways she could never arrange through her own efforts. Sometimes Allah protects a believer's honor in ways that are completely unexpected. A misunderstanding is clarified, a hidden truth becomes known, or the right people recognize sincerity without any effort from the believer. A woman of value has witnessed moments in her own life where Allah opened doors she could never have opened herself. A calm woman remembers these experiences whenever new challenges arise. They remind her that Allah's help does not always arrive according to human expectations, but it always arrives according to His perfect wisdom. This remembrance strengthens her trust during difficult moments. One danger of constantly defending yourself is that your heart can slowly become filled with resentment. A woman of value recognizes this risk. A calm woman refuses to allow the actions of others to poison her relationship with Allah. Instead of becoming consumed by bitterness, she turns to prayer. She asks Allah to purify her heart, grant her patience, and guide everyone involved. This response protects her spiritually because she refuses to allow other people's behavior to determine the condition of her own heart. She chooses faith over resentment and trust over constant anxiety. Trusting Allah also means believing that true honor comes from Him alone. A woman of value understands that human praise can disappear overnight, but the honor Allah gives is lasting. A calm woman no longer measures her worth by popularity, compliments, or public reputation. She remembers that Allah elevates whom He wills, and that no person can take away the dignity He grants to a sincere servant. This understanding frees her from becoming emotionally dependent on the opinions of others. Her confidence grows because it is rooted in Allah rather than in changing human approval. As this trust deepens, fear begins losing its power. A woman of value notices that she worries less about gossip, criticism, or false accusations. A calm woman realizes that her responsibility is to live truthfully and leave the outcome to Allah. She cannot control every conversation, but she can control her sincerity. She cannot prevent every misunderstanding, but she can maintain excellent character. This perspective brings tremendous emotional freedom because she stops carrying battles that belong to Allah. Instead of living defensively, she lives faithfully. In the end, trust Allah to defend your honor. A woman of value understands that the truth of her heart is already known by the one whose judgment matters most. A calm woman continues speaking truthfully, acting with integrity, and treating others with kindness, regardless of how she is perceived. She refuses to sacrifice her peace, trying to correct every opinion or answer every accusation. She places her reputation in Allah's hands while continuing to improve her own character. Through this trust, she discovers a profound peace. She no longer fears every misunderstanding because she knows that Allah is the best guardian, the perfect witness, and the most just. His knowledge is enough, His protection is enough, and His judgment is enough. 6. The quiet life brings the greatest peace. We live in a world that constantly encourages us to be louder, busier, and more visible. People are often taught that success means attracting attention, sharing every achievement, and making sure everyone notices what they are doing. Yet many hearts remain restless despite all this attention. A woman of value discovers a different path. A calm woman realizes that peace is rarely found in constant noise. Instead, it grows in a heart that is connected to Allah and no longer depends on the approval of people. She understands that a quiet life is not an empty life. It is a life protected from unnecessary distractions, endless comparisons, and constant pressure. The quieter her life becomes, the more clearly she hears the reminders of Allah, the more deeply she reflects on her purpose, and the more peacefully she experiences each day. This quietness becomes a blessing because it allows her heart to rest where it truly belongs. Many people confuse peace with excitement. They believe happiness always comes from being surrounded by activity, attention, and constant interaction. A woman of value gradually learns that endless busyness can leave the soul exhausted. A calm woman realizes that the heart needs moments of stillness, just as the body needs moments of rest. She intentionally creates space in her life to slow down, reflect, and reconnect with Allah. These quiet moments become opportunities for sincere dua, meaningful prayer, and honest self-examination. She discovers that some of the greatest spiritual growth happens when the world becomes quiet enough for the heart to listen. A quiet life also protects a person from becoming involved in unnecessary drama. Many arguments, misunderstandings, and conflicts continue simply because people feel the need to respond to everything. A woman of value understands that not every comment deserves her attention. A calm woman chooses carefully where she invests her emotional energy. She does not feel obligated to join every discussion or defend herself against every opinion. By stepping away from unnecessary conflict, she protects her peace and preserves her emotional strength. She understands that silence often prevents problems from becoming larger than they need to be. Another beautiful aspect of a quiet life is that it creates room for gratitude. When life becomes filled with constant noise and distraction, blessings are easily overlooked. A woman of value slows down enough to notice the mercy of Allah in ordinary moments. A calm woman appreciates a peaceful morning, a heartfelt prayer, a conversation with someone she loves, or the simple blessing of good health. She realizes that many of Allah's greatest gifts are quiet. They do not demand attention, yet they nourish the soul every single day. Gratitude naturally increases because she is no longer rushing past the blessings Allah places before her. Living quietly also helps a woman focus on her own journey instead of constantly comparing herself with others. A woman of value understands that comparison often begins when attention is directed outward. A calm woman redirects her focus inward. She asks herself how she can improve her worship, strengthen her character, and become more pleasing to Allah. This shift protects her from jealousy and unnecessary competition because she realizes that every believer has a unique path written by Allah. Her goal is not to imitate someone else's journey, but to fulfill her own with sincerity. A quiet life also strengthens sincerity. When fewer people are watching, intentions become easier to purify. A woman of value performs acts of worship because she desires Allah's pleasure rather than public recognition. A calm woman finds joy in prayers that only Allah witnesses, in charity that no one knows about, and in good deeds performed without expectation of praise. This hidden relationship with Allah becomes one of the greatest sources of peace because it is built on sincerity instead of appearance. She realizes that the most valuable parts of her faith often grow in private. Many women spend years trying to keep up with expectations that Allah never placed upon them. They feel pressure to impress others, explain themselves constantly, or maintain an image that pleases everyone. A woman of value gradually lets go of these unnecessary burdens. A calm woman remembers that Allah never asked her to become everything for everyone. He asked her to worship Him sincerely and live with good character. This realization simplifies her life. She becomes less concerned with appearances and more concerned with pleasing her Creator. Through this simplicity, peace begins replacing pressure. Another blessing of a quiet life is emotional stability. A woman of value notices that her emotions are no longer controlled by every compliment or criticism. A calm woman understands that when her heart is anchored in Allah, the opinions of people lose much of their power. She appreciates kind words but does not depend on them. She accepts criticism with humility when it is beneficial and leaves unfair judgment to Allah. Because her identity is rooted in faith rather than public opinion, she experiences a deeper and more lasting sense of security. As this way of living becomes her habit, she notices changes that go far beyond outward circumstances. A woman of value becomes more patient during hardship, more grateful during ease, and more present in worship. A calm woman discovers that her greatest victories are often invisible to the world. They happen quietly inside her heart, as trust replaces anxiety, gratitude replaces complaint, and remembrance of Allah replaces constant distraction. These changes become the foundation of a peaceful life because they are built on faith rather than changing circumstances. In the end, the quiet life brings the greatest peace because it allows the heart to remain focused on what truly matters. A woman of value understands that she does not need constant attention, endless explanations, or public recognition to live a meaningful life. A calm woman chooses sincerity over popularity, reflection over distraction, and closeness to Allah over the approval of people. She walks through life with humility, speaks with wisdom, and protects her heart from unnecessary noise. Through this choice, she discovers a beautiful truth. The loudest life is not always the happiest one. Lasting peace is often found in the quiet moments spent with Allah, where the heart is free from worldly pressure and completely at rest in His mercy. You cannot control what people think, say, or believe about you, but you can control your character, your actions, and your relationship with Allah. Do not waste your life trying to convince everyone to understand you. Focus on becoming the person Allah wants you to be. Stay silent when silence protects your dignity. Walk away from unnecessary drama. Keep improving yourself even when no one notices. In the end, it is not people's opinions that will matter. It is your standing before Allah. So focus on yourself, protect your peace, remain humble, and let Allah take care of the rest.